Hello and welcome to another Smoke and Mirrors episode here on AI in Games, where I'm going to review my time spent with Metro 2033. Originally released in 2010 and developed by 4A Games, I was taking my time with the Redux edition, an updated version of the game released on PS4, Xbox One and PC back in 2014. This has been on my to-do list for a while, and given this year's release of Metro Exodus, I figured it was high time I got around to playing the series. Based on the 2002 novel by Dmitry Glukhovsky, Metro 2033 takes place in a post-apocalyptic Moscow where survivors of the attack fled down into the subway tunnels in an effort to survive and have been down there ever since. 20 years have passed since the bombs dropped, and society is divided into factions holding control of their own territory throughout the metro. All the while the surface is still too dangerous to live upon, be it due to the radiation levels or the mutated animals that haunt the lands. Players take control of Artyom, a man in his early 20s who lives in the settlement of Exhibition and is now determined to reach the larger settlement of Polis to seek help against the Dark Ones, an unknown force that is now creeping across the metro and taking many a life with it. It's a hell of a premise, I'll give it that. The game provides two routes with which to take the game, be it in survival mode, which emphasises stealth and more akin to the original game, or Spartan mode, which is more run and gun and a little more lenient when it comes to ammo and such. I opted for the original, but I'm not sure what differences the Spartan mode would have on the game for reasons I'll get into in a minute. The plot is generally quite interesting, and it's fun to diversify the gameplay as you visit different regions of the metro, where you have areas completely dominated by mutants, strange phenomena such as the anomalies, and ghosts that haunt some of the tunnels, plus fighting off hardcore communists, and Nazis, because of course there's Nazis. So it's not quite an all-out shooter, it's a bit of a horror game with shooter elements as well as stealth sequences, but is still fairly linear. The lead developers on Metro 2033 had previously worked on Stalker, and I feel the influence of that game here, albeit a lot more streamlined. The engine feels similar in control and movement, which is a little clunky but nonetheless still easy enough to handle. All that said, there are issues with it that hinder the overall experience, and I feel like at times it becomes increasingly more prevalent that you're playing a rather unbalanced game. Okay, so let's talk about that. The game focuses heavily on the idea of limited resources for your intended plan, be it attacking enemies, healing yourself, keeping your flashlight active, finding filters necessary for your gas mask to work topside, even having a functional gas mask. Every resource is a commodity, where even those that are renewable have caveats in that you expose yourself or risk putting yourself in harm's way as you attempt to replenish them. So major sequences of the game expect you to prepare in advance and use resource sparingly. Hence it encourages stealthy approaches towards human settlements that you find throughout the game. Take out lights, stealth kill enemies and make as little noise as possible. One of the main reasons for that is that when you face off against the mutated animals, either in tunnels or topside, you have little option other than to attack. A lot of it comes down to how enemy AI characters are designed, since it seems like the human characters are by default built to not see the player on inception and instead wait on you to expose yourself by being in the light or making too much noise. However, the mutant animals are sort of the opposite. You find a lot of them always beeline to your location. They know where you are, spawn in and rush in to attack. A lot of that's very obvious in the scenes topside, given you hear the howls of mutants on the horizon, then they'll rush in to attack en masse, at which point you better hope that your guns are armed and loaded. It's actually a bit of a disappointment, given the emphasis on stealth when dealing with humans both underground and topside, that there is little to nothing you can do about avoiding confrontation with mutants. They always seem to be able to find you. I replayed certain segments over and over, but the game is adamant you get into a fight, so I often found the trick to winning those gunfights was either to deliberately prop myself in locations the mutants have trouble reaching, navigate into tight and awkward spaces, or alternatively stand next to a friendly NPC that's critical to the story. They can't die, so you let them do all the hard work. A big reason for that is that reloading guns in Metro 2033 takes forever. So any weapon you have, you just swap it out and empty the ammo of the next gun if you can afford to do so. I heavily employed this tactic when there were large numbers of mutants to wipe out, given they take quite a lot of bullets to kill. So instead, just stand behind the line of friendly AI, shoot them all, then fall back and reload and hope they're all too busy attacking my near invincible co-op buddies to notice me. The one notable exception to this is a sequence in the library up on the surface, where the mutants, nicknamed librarians, how novel, haunt the corridors and are a pretty terrifying presence. They'll mess you up good if provoked, but you can scare them off largely by staring them down. It's a little weird given on first attempt I missed the dialogue that explains this and discovered it by accident. I actually thought they might be blind or have limited vision like a T-Rex. See, this is why you should pay more attention to what your NPC buddies say to you at times. It sounds like I'm slamming the game, but overall I actually really enjoyed it. I found it was fine. Just a lot of these smaller design elements are kind of niggling at me. Beyond that, it's a solid story-driven FPS to play through, and good ones of those are in relatively short supply. I'm keen to go and give the second game in the series, Metro Last Light, a try, and then potentially Metro Exodus after that, but I don't really have any desire to replay this one. I read that there is a secret moral system that is responsible for creating a secret ending, but yeah, I'm not really compelled to go back and give it another crack. But hey, if you like a good shooter and have 8 hours to kill, this will easily take up a weekend quite nicely. That's it for this Smoke and Mirrors. Be sure to support AI in Games to chat about these games early with me. Support me on the Patreon and as a YouTube member, like these good people. Stay safe, have fun. I'll be back.